Starting. We are live. Hello, world. This is Holly and Ivan, and hopefully more 7H members talking with you. And our topics on the agenda are interviewing, differences in gender, in interviewing and in other places, and conducting meetings. Some interesting tips for how to look impressive or sound impressive when you are in meetings that just never seem to stop, often scheduled. So that's what was thrown on the table for topics. Interesting links, both of them that you shared, Ivan, and you have been attending many meetings, you said.
Unfortunately.
So which of these things do you do to routinely bring the meeting to a faster conclusion, or to be there or look like you're there, even if you're not?
I think there is no general answer. So it's really depend of the members on the meeting, and sometimes it's very critical, to not to joke, not to speak, because you can prolong a meeting for long. So sometimes if I see that people understand, I can use something. I don't know, something. I can do something stupid, so I can show that I'm not interested. Please let me go from this stupid meeting. Let me do my work. So sometimes I cannot. Yeah. It depends on.
No, I'm guilty of prolonging meetings by somebody saying one more thing or asking one more question. So I liked some of the tips in the link that you shared, 20 tricks. And I've been at many a meeting where people use the last one. They don't participate much, don't seem to be paying attention. And then at the very end, they wake up and say, someone can email us a summary, thanks. And hope someone will tell them whatever they need to have absorbed.
But I hope you do understand that all of these 20 tricks are sarcastic.
Yes, oh, absolutely. Yeah, but they're also all used by different people quite often. I've certainly used some and been victim of some.
Have you ever heard about technology agile? It's like
agile,
a set
yeah,
of
agile request. We had to submit.
Yeah. It's just a set of techniques. Sorry, we have a delay. We always start to speak together. I'm sorry. So it's a very popular technique now in IT because, IT now it's a more mature industry, and we don't have people like all for one. No, so we have a specialization now, and it has a disadvantage because we have to communicate a lot. We could not do own job by myself anymore, but by one people. So we have to communicate. We have a lot of meetings, and these meetings they are wasting of time. So we have some technique, agile. It's just a set of rules how to make these meetings, how to not to, I don't know, not to be drowned in the not to drown in this meeting. So one of them, I like some of these rules. For instance, one of them, it's a standing meetups. When you go to the meetups, you have to stay, because it's provoke you not to make long meetings or something like this.
Have you ever attended a standing meeting, either of you?
Yes. All my meetings are standing.
But really? So you're using this one?
Yes, always. Because I see it a lot. So it's, for me, it's a chance to stand up. So whenever I have a call on my job, what I do, I look through my window and I stand up.
I don't like standing up because it's painful for my back. If I'm moving, it's very good, but if I'm quiet, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Understand.
The standing meetings I've been to are Magnus wanted to come in. The standing meetings I've been to, 8 to 10 minutes is about the maximum before people start getting really antsy and asking for chairs or looking around or leaning against the wall, trying to change the environment. So when you have standing meetings regularly, Ivan, how long are your meetings generally?
Wow. Just today I had 2 meetings, one for 3 hours and another for 2.5. Yeah,
Hours?
that's
Standing.
normal. Yes, it's normal. It's a good day today.
Standing?
Yeah, not too much, not
What a
too much
nightmare.
meetings.
Wow. So do you have stand-up workstations where you're on your computers during the meetings?
Nope. I just
Wow.
don't have to write something or something. It's just
Wow.
planning. So we have a how to explain? Just an example. Today we have a meeting that called planning. We plan the issues and job for the next 2 weeks. So we have one guy who is in charge for Kanban. If you don't, have you heard about Kanban? No. Okay, so just just a desk with task. So one guy is in charge to fix everything, to write everything, and we just discuss. So it's a special requirement because if everyone writes something, it will be never the same. People will misunderstand each other. So we have one guy who make a protocol, and the rest just discussing, speaking, prioritizing, and so on. So,
Wow.
and it
Wow.
was for 3 hours today, yes, but it's for two next weeks. And it was like, let me count, 10 or more people. So like this, my small team.
Younger people?
I don't know. I'm not ageist. I'm not sexist. I never pay attention for this.
Okay. Wow. I'm impressed. Wow. I have not had that experience at all, so I don't know if I get wrapped up in what's happening. I've had meetings um, that have been 45 minutes or so standing, but they've had activities built in where you go to that board or you go to that side of the room, whatever. So there's been some action. I've been standing that long because of my back injury. When at the opposite of Gerard, where standing is easier than other positions. But wow, I'm impressed.
Well, maybe I'm not too clear on this regard, but I mean that for planning meetings, standing up it's not a requirement. You can sit, you can do whatever you do. But I'm talking about just my option,
Yeah,
my
yeah,
choice.
yeah.
So I'm always do this standing because
Your
it's chance for
choice.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Hmm.
I wonder if that's a good question to try and throw out or research on a broader basis to see if it's becoming popular outside of IT. It certainly is on many business bloggers and Twitter and whatever as a suggestion. I've been seeing it more often, more because of the responsibility, accountability being pushed onto employers and schools to be have their employees and themselves and students be less obese. So get them up is so it's on the radar more often, but I'm impressed. Cool. So that would be hard for you, Gerard.
Yes, I think an idea. I would use a treadmill, so I could walk while doing the meeting, and that's good.
Yeah.
I kill 2 birds with one stone.
Yeah. Yeah. And the trouble I have with that type of an option is I get distracted and get more into my treadmilling and zone out of whatever's happening around me.
Multitasking. Women can do multitasking.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I don't know, Ivan.
Why you ask me? I'm not an expert.
Ah,
Oh,
but
yeah?
I think I'm an
I
expert
mean,
in
people might
multitasking.
debate that point. You've been proving yourself to be the expert. One of my favorites is, that's obvious. And one of the directors I used to work for used to do that. And turn nouns into verbs. That's a big one in today's world. Let's actionize this. That's a popular one. And buzzwords like conflate. We're conflating multiple issues. Yeah. And I like the fact that gestures are coming back because I've always talked with my full body. So I like the fact that that's becoming something that's taught now in schools to make your presentation more impactful, right? Stretch. Extend. So that's easy. Number 14 cracks me up. And also I have experienced is you don't need to be here. You don't need to be there. How to make people feel important, right? Yeah, some of those were funny. On the interview ones, I didn't see anybody respond to my questions. Did you guys see the questions I posted about your link from last week?
Probably not.
Probably not. I'm not seeing them now. What did I do? Put them in the wrong place too? It's quite possible that I put them in the wrong place. Oh. Huh. Did you get to read that article? Do either of you remember much about it that Yvonne shared about interviewees and interviewers, differences, research done studying presumptions about satisfaction with your work and rating yourself on your abilities and qualifications for a job? Do you remember much about it, Yvonne or Gerard? Did you read it?
The one that imposter syndrome.
Last week, this was when we had to cancel last week, and he shared a link.
I didn't attend last class because it was in my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class.
Okay, and so I have to try and find my questions. I don't see them where they should be. Maybe it was transcription. Maybe it was a transcription link. I've had a rough week and I am not at my best. So many extra hours and changing hours. And
But
this is when they told me things would slow down.
Yes, I found these questions. There is the link in our chat.
Excellent.
How often have you interviewed others? How many times have you been interviewed? Okay, and gender and racial again.
So, how many times have you interviewed others approximately? And
0.
So you've never been in a position, even in your new position, you're not interviewing?
No, I don't choose.
Okay. And how many times approximately have you been interviewed?
I don't, maybe none. 0. No.
Wow. And Yvonne, how would you answer those questions?
I don't have exact numbers, but I think both answers like less than 100 probably.
But high, above 50 and less than 100.
Probably close to 100, but I'm not sure that it's
okay. For both.
Overcame.
Have you been interviewed that many times for different IT jobs, mostly different projects?
It's very common. Then inside one company, we have small departments and small teams. We call them teams. And sometimes you don't change your like job, but you like moved from one team to another team. And usually it include interview so that you are eligible for this team. So it's very common thing.
Wow. And when you have interviewed others, approximation of gender differences or racial differences or observed differences, age, whatever ism you want to try and think about? Have you noticed?
Usually before you ask, I never think about any isms, but if you ask, okay. So I interviewed 0 black people so far, or people of color, because they don't exist in our industry.
Interesting.
It's our fault, of course. I know.
But in IT, you have not. I'm surprised by that.
Why?
But because you've worked for companies that are not Russian-based, right? You've worked for international.
It's the same. There are no Russian IT companies. All the IT companies are international.
So I am surprised. Okay, interesting.
Don't be. And I interviewed maybe 2. What's the correct term for this? 2 female programmers. It's pretty correct.
Wow.
Female programmers, yes, in my life. Because obviously it's our fault, but we don't have too much female here.
Wow. And are you in these process of interviewing? Are you also the one who went through all of the applicants and chose who would be interviewed?
Yes. No. Well,
No.
it depends.
Someone else did that?
Well, it's a multi-level stage. People have to pass human resources. People have to pass first interview, and then on second interview, I speak with them, and then I decide you will go to my boss or not.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I'm surprised by both of those answers. Okay. And as someone who's been interviewed, have you been interviewed by knowingly, because I don't know if you're always on in person or webcam, but knowingly by a woman or an other of some sort?
Chances are small, I would say.
Wow.
Of course not. So answer is no, definitely.
Okay. And when you have traveled, you've traveled quite a bit, and some of that for work.
Yes.
Has that seemed to be running true with your experiences meeting others? Are you not seeing people of color and or a majority or a much bigger?
Okay, I haven't seen people of color, but I don't know what exactly it means because I see a lot of Indian people and Chinese
You're
people.
not alone,
So
right, you're not alone. Okay. People are confused now.
Yeah, so maybe me as a Russian, I'm a people of color. Why not? I'm just a Negro for Americans. So it's okay. But in general, again, there is no like. All the IT companies are international. So what I see now, I see whenever I travel, or it's all the same. But sometimes there are like small female groups, I would say. Can I say so? Groups. They made some meetups, they made some activities, they made some chauvinistic things like our company only for females. Never man will be hired there. Yeah. But it's always works this direction, not opposite. No.
Wow, this makes me want to do more research because I had no idea it was this.
How it's possible? I shared 100 posts on 7H because of that, because of this conference, because of this feminist conference. Yeah.
But the numbers that percentages or numbers that I've been in my head for IT and people I know people of color and I know women who are moving up in IT projects, and so this surprises me. But
yes,
but it's
they
primarily from a U.S. perspective, who always says you have to go abroad for good help. So that's what many of the.
Yes, but the answer was about my interview. So yes, there are some females in our team, and they work in different departments, and I can see and communicate them. And we have a few programmers in my department for this year, female programmers. So it happened, but I mean that I never interviewed, almost never, like 2 times or so.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I know you will not like it because usually we take women without interview, just to show how diverse we are.
You're right. I won't like that. But I
That's
also
a little
want
bit
to know
insulting.
how Gerard.
Decoration, like a decoration element.
I want to know if Gerard's experience is typical. If I were to ask 100 guys on the street or 100 women on the street, would they tell me that they have had 0 interviews? They've never been interviewed?
No, some people have interviewed many people, but I don't, because I got my jobs, because my most important jobs, thanks to friends or acquaintances. It's the
And
best
no
way.
interview. So
No
I mean,
interview. Well, I don't know. A slight interview, but they told me the conditions, okay, but not almost anything. Do I going to do that? And you go, okay, that's your wage, your salary. The salary is that. Anything more in my workplace, for instance, I remember I talked with the boss and the girl responsible of human resources, but they didn't say much.
huh, wow. So I've had 2 jobs I've gotten from someone sharing my name, but I still had to go through the interview process because of regulations here. It's law, and they were still reasonably in-depth interviews. Interesting. Huh. I can't imagine. So I've been on not 100, probably 30-ish interviews where I have been interviewed, maybe more. Maybe more if I stop and add them up. And I would say, I have to think, but I would say more than half by men, but I don't know if I would say more than 75% were men who interviewed me. And I have interviewed not 100. I have interviewed 20, 30, probably somewhere around 30 again, give or take, people, and almost all women. And the few men that I interviewed I felt kind of awkward. Thinking about it now. So I was impacted by gender, partially because of the type of work, education and floral industry. The insurance world is where there were more both genders. People of color, a few, but a small percentage. Not applicants that I knew of, but you're not allowed to ask, so it would just be presumed by name or hearing a voice. So it would be presumptions. Interesting. Yeah, so when I thought about it for myself, I was like, there is some, as an interviewer, I have some bias that I became aware of that I hadn't been aware of before.
Well, but I think that that circumstances are very important. When people blame me about some biases, it's not too often. When mostly it's over internet. Some activists blame us that everything is our fault. But I usually have an answer. I don't care. Is it a robot, a dog, a woman, it's something. I need colleague. I need to job be done. I eager for that. So I am the last man on the world in the world who want to be biased. Yeah, because we always have a lack of human resources. So that's the problem.
But I think the IT field is the one where you are going to find less women. But there are plenty of women in other fields like education or healthcare, at least in Spain.
In Russia, for instance, education. In Russia, for instance, education, medicine, all this, how to say it, investigating police departments. We have police like power police, on the road, and we have police that are detectives. Yeah, they are all female. In Russia.
Really?
Yeah.
That's nice.
Seriously?
That means they are cleverer and men are brute.
Mostly because yeah.
Wow, that surprises me too. Interesting. Hmm.
Good news.
It's fascinating. The length of time and the amount of emotional and researching you've put into this topic has impressed me, Ivan. Other things you let go and move on, let go and move on, but you don't let go of this one. And it has surprised me. And some of your posts this week really, and your answers today, were so influenced by, whether we want to be or not, by what our individual experiences and exposure are. What a world. What a world. What a world. So I have a totally unrelated question for you guys, and then you can take the talk back wherever you want to. But this week, a lot of people are unhappy again with President Trump. Surprise, surprise. But because he did not show up at a World War I cemetery site visit for Veterans Day, because of the rain, because of the weather. And Trudeau was there, and many other dignitaries from other countries were there, but he didn't show up. And I just wonder if that made news, if you were aware of that.
But I remember a meeting in Russia where Putin was raining a lot, and Putin was without umbrella, completely soaked, and he thought that was a respect for the soldiers. So Putin, so Trump is the opposite.
But Jart, I don't think it's about Putin. If I would say some of my friends or family that I will not go there because of rain, I will be like mocked forever because of this.
Yeah. And mocked is, in my mind, mocked is not the right word. I would be scorned or thought less of for a long time. And for people would remember that's just wrong. And so it surprised me. It makes me wonder if there isn't another backstory, a health issue or a concern or something. But even for him, that's a group he depends upon for votes, and and yeah.
I think I heard about the story. I heard about the story, but it doesn't attract more attention, a lot of attention in my place. So we don't worry. So,
but it would if it were someone in your.
Yeah. It will be Putin or someone else. We will surprise.
I'm impervious to those things.
Yeah,
anything affects him.
It surprised my husband and I just wondered if it was meaningful outside of so much going on, and it's just he just continues to.
For us, it's not important. If Trump on the next meeting will wear a skirt or something, it will not be a big news for us as well, because we already have a low expectation. I think.
Yeah, it's disturbing for me and for many people. Just it's also disturbing to me how much mockery and abuse it, because I hope, I trust even for Trump, I trust that there is more to the story, and the media is so strong, so immediately strongly negative, and feeling the power of Democrats in the House. So now the talk of impeachment or some other way to get rid of him is strong again. But the guy is not a complete doof. He knows how to manipulate and play the game. He
Yes.
plays for keeps. So
I think the main thing that helps Trump is the immigration topic, because many people don't like immigrants, and this matter with the caravan, from Honduras. That was a big help for him. But let's see what will happen when those people want to cross the border.
I think we know what will happen. There will be fire. There will be violence.
I hope not. I hope I don't want to say I hope.
I can bet for this.
I agree that that's a strong likelihood if they try to cross somewhere other than where they are supposed to cross. Part of me agrees with some of what the Republicans are proposing for immigration. But no one is revamping so that it can work. They're just trying to impose on an already broken system. And there are a lot of challenges. But I agree that people attempting to get asylum should still come through the correct entry points, and there are many of them, and not try to be crossing illegally. And I agree that if they're found crossing illegally, they should be deported. They can come right back in where they're supposed to come in. But I do agree, planning makes sense. But it's such a sending all those troops, and those troops could be in such immediate use in California right now.
What about this famous wall, Trump's wall?
No money. Yeah, okay. Mr. Trump hasn't found the money for it yet.
Money, the billions of dollars. No wonder.
Mexico's not paying for it yet, so working on it.
They must, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was fake news.
Well, it depends on who you ask, of course. He says it's not fake news.
CNN is fake news, but Trump is not fake news.
But he is trying to push people to change, and I don't know. Yeah. Who knows if it's just going to be another showdown of nothing, and bluster, or if maybe a few people can find some way to get something happening.
I read some article maybe a year ago. It was about walls, and it was interesting because it was an infographic that nowadays we build more walls than like 1 century before. So many people like Ukraine build walls on the border of Russia, some walls in Europe, some walls planted on Mexico. So it's but
and homes and towns and sections, residential sections, a lot of walls and barriers. Yeah.
Actually, it's what when I travel, it was surprised me in Spain. There are many private areas, many places where you don't have to go, cannot go. We don't have it still in Russia. It's in Russia. I can walk whenever I want. Yeah. It was some new experience.
My first awareness of how different a lifestyle that was working with refugees from many different countries that were used to high walls for security and not being able to see, and they were just so awed by they didn't understand why doors are closed and locked so much, because they came from a place where doors were open, but you could see just the door and the walls. So that was the only place to get in, only one entry, unless you climbed over the wall. But yeah, it was the first time that became a frequent topic of conversation. We have a gated community right up the road from us, most of the gated communities I've seen are places where homes are $50,000 to $100,000 each, higher than homes outside the community, but not all of them. We have one that's around a lake, and a lot of less expensive homes, and it's quite a distance from town, and I have no idea why they are a gated community. It makes no sense to me. If you want to go to a yard sale there or visit someone, they have to leave your name and license plate number at the gate so that you can prove that you're allowed to be there. So you saw several in Spain. So Gerard, tell us about gated communities in Spain.
I don't see much in my place. In my town, there are not gated communities, but there are some urbanizations, private, where they are walled, and you have an entrance and someone that controls the entrance. Allotted people only.
Yeah,
Like a military base.
yeah. When I mentioned Spain, I did not mean communities. It's mostly about like apartment buildings or something like this.
Yeah,
So small.
money.
Are designated private entry places.
Yeah, some pools, some gardens. They belong to building pools.
Yeah. Different ways of thinking.
Doesn't look good to me.
No, me either. But I also now, every time I see a dumpster, you don't know how many times I remember this. Every time I see a dumpster, I'm like, wow, why are they out there ugly where we have to look at them? And I remember you saying that you just don't see the dumpsters or the trash, big trash receptacles in Russia, that it's handled out of sight. And that would be so nice if they found a way to implement that here.
I think the reason why in Russia have that, because the climate is cold. You cannot have all the garbage in a warm climate because it rots. You need to empty every day.
Yeah, that's true. But in some part of Spain, I saw some underground dumpster.
Yeah, they have some, but they don't work very well, I think.
Yeah, but they look good. They look good,
They
and
look good. But
better than the rest.
Yeah. Some of the ideas I've seen intrigue me, but I wonder about breakdowns and then what happens and the mess you have. Huh. Wow. I saw an article that I will be adding a post on when I research more about it. I forget if it was yesterday or today, but I'm totally intrigued. And it's about using the LED lights to grow vegetables. Do you know about this at all? So still in experimental stage, but one warehouse, they call themselves 80 acres because this one 15,000 square foot space, 15,000 square foot warehouse, so a sizable building. But that warehouse can grow crops in constant rotation. So more than the one crop, that the same amount as an 80 acres farm could grow of one crop. And they grow 5 different crops, vines. They have vines growing inside, and it's all controlled, mostly LED lighting, which doesn't burn the foliage, so the lights can be closer. And they're researching and learning which vegetables prefer 14 hours of sunlight a day or 8 or 10, and they're getting perfect crops, no insects, no GMOs, no insecticides, and tasty, supposedly working really well, and working towards better cost effectiveness, but no transportation. I mean, it's radical if it works and it expands. And they try to have everything they harvest be eaten within 2 to 3 days, because it all goes local, and that's pretty awesome. I'm really excited to learn more about it and see what everybody else can find for what's happening with it. But it sounds positive. I don't know what they'll find that's not positive other than cost, but really the environmental footprint's a lot less interesting, exciting for me. And then the discovery in the Angola Sea, the sea monsters that they found fossils of.
No.
Yeah. So Angola has been so war-torn for so long that it's never really been researched. But they're just starting to, and they found really cool fossils of prehistoric sea monsters, lizard-like things that swam around in the ocean. Yeah, fun and somewhat scary discoveries that are being made, if we believe what people come up with. Yeah. So what new products have you guys seen that are worth talking about?
New products.
Good or bad, new products, new innovations. Those were some of my favorite English Addicts classes, were the innovations classes. Nothing? All your travels, Yvonne? You can't think of something to share with us? No. Your kids don't come home with something new that you never saw as a child?
Probably it's hard to record for me something because it's on daily basis, you know.
Daily? Oh, wow. I'm not coming up with any either, other than this LED greenhouse. But I'm sure they're out there. It'd be fun to have reports on more of them. So I think we're going to get booted off on our 45 minutes here any second, unless they decide to extend. And if you don't mind, I'll let us end at that point.
But we are on Google. We are on Google, not on Zoom.
Not on Zoom. You're right.
Where are you, Holly, today?
Really? Yeah, really. Okay, so we're fine here. Sorry. Yeah, messed up mind. I'm trying to research whether I can get Hangouts. What am I trying to research? Hangouts. No, Zoom to YouTube. That's what I'm trying to find out, whether I can have an easy setup like the Hangouts do, where Zoom will send it right to YouTube. And if I can, then I'll stop doing Hangouts and just do Zoom. But you see what it does to my aging brain. Today, at the place I worked this morning, is Veterans Day celebrations, and it was just really, really chaotic, and I didn't have time to really rest. I went straight from there to a doctor's appointment and dashed home, so not enough time to get resituated mentally. It was easier when I was younger. So standing meetings that go shorter, 3 hours long, but shorter. That doesn't sound too successful. So how long are they if you're sitting?
Well, as I said, sadly, now IT it's all about communication. So we don't read any more books like how to write code. No, it's all the past. Now everyone knows how to write the code. Now we read books how to communicate efficiently, how to organize your team, how to so all these things. We hire special people, we call it Scrum Masters. They go there and teach us. Now you say this, you say this. Now we do this meeting, do that meeting. So because our projects are so complicated now that we have a lot of experts and organize them together, so it's a problem.
It's like Steve Jobs, you remember? He didn't wrote code. Used to write code.
Yeah.
He was the famous one. Steve Wozniak was only the guy that did the hard job, and he was unfamous.
Yeah, but problem is that now impossible to have to write something significant by only one man, So we have to, and it doesn't scale, Returning to the slides, it doesn't scale, so it's a problem.
My brother's retired, and he's been experimenting with writing code. He hadn't for a while, and he goes to Stack Exchange a lot and finds different rooms to talk with people who know whatever project he's working on, have done something similar, and he finds a lot of interest and communication that way. Do you use Stack Exchange?
Yeah, it's like a Bible for us.
Right. So, but what you're talking about is above and beyond.
No, stack exchange is just for for short answers that you have. So you have a problem, you go there, you find answer. Okay, I know. So it's not a problem. Problem for this meeting is when you need to, I don't know, what's the word for this? To set up a lot of different components in one time that managed by different teams, and it must be one product. So that's the problem. And there are no recepts. You cannot Google this.
So at the campground, it's interesting, very different, all three of us, very different situations. At the campground, how are communications handled?
What do you mean with between the workers and the customers?
You have a lot of seasonal employees and a few full-time and customers. How are communications handled?
I think it's an easy. It's not necessarily a high level of English because most customers are not from the UK, so they don't speak perfect English. We can communicate each other pretty well.
But in Spanish or Catalan with your coworkers, how do you communicate? Do you have a shared message board, emails, texts? How in person? How do you communicate to be sure if there's something everyone needs to know? How do you get that message across?
There is a hierarchy.
Hierarchy.
And every section has a boss, maybe 10 or 15 sections, and we have the one boss over us, the manager, which happens to be the owner. And so this is the communication goes like in a hierarchy way, So you want to with the people in charge, the manager of every section, talk each other, and then
each responsible for a stage down to communicate, and then communications where I work is a challenge. Internal email seems to be the best way, but so many things don't ever make it to email. One person tells somebody and assumes it's been done, and a lot of miscommunication on scheduling and last minute changes and where is so-and-so and frantic attempts for in-person. And then we're part of William and Mary University, and so that's a mandatory requirement to check the daily digest from the university for anything that might impact us out here. And then, of course, with 7H or with Loop or with English Cafe or online, the methods of communication and the levels in each of them are interesting. In IT, it seems like the problem should be getting better, not worse. I would think with the intranets and the desire people have to get on their projects that you would not have as many or more meetings. Most of what I read are attempts to have fewer. So it's surprising from the outside when you hear your experience from the inside. Yeah.
It's because the term IT is meaningless. When we speak about IT, what we speak about? Product company, about support company, about telecom company, it's about some offshore Indian company. It's all different. It's nothing common in this. So, but we speak about this like about IT. So I understand then for outsourcing Indian company, what can be meeting about? Nothing. Well, it's your job doing. Go and do this. So I understand. But when you have some complex problem in writing in product company, you have to put like 10 experts in one room and make decisions. So it will be different, and all of them in different time zones and in different countries. And yeah. And they like different tools and have own understanding of infrastructure and so on. So it's a lot of things to do.
Do you see a different role for yourself as you're experiencing all this? Are you thinking about making a move to a different?
No, I'm in a pretty comfortable position, and now it's a market of employer, so it's a very good thing. You don't ask, you dictate how much to pay you and how to trade you, so it's very good. But when you go up, when you go to be boss, you just having more headache, and that's all.
And it's interesting how different personalities embrace that or run away from it or totally change lifestyle because of it. Yeah. So from what I understand, the whole world is supposed to be working toward the next 20 years or so. No need for anyone to work full time. So we have to figure out how to enjoy our leisure time more effectively beyond killing each other.
From my opinion, about 90% of the jobs now already are sinecure or something like something not important. Yeah, so it's just to make people busy. So
Right.
nothing will change in my opinion. Especially, I clearly see that in the countries with economic problems. For instance, in Arabic countries, there are a lot of people who do nothing. Concierge, some parking workers, like yeah. I rented a house and I have like I don't know 12 or 15 people around me. They doing full job, but I don't understand why why they doing something. Yeah. So.
And I've talked with a few people that I've gotten to know over several years' time from Central and South America, where that thinking is similar. No matter, unless you're at the lowest of the low and really, really low income, it's rare not to have at least one and often 3 to 10 or more people on a daily or weekly basis doing things that I do for myself. And just not expected for one person to do all that, or it's just keeping people busy. I don't know what the full
Yeah. But it's a like a masking unemployment rate or something. Yeah, fake jobs.
And meanwhile, as we have more and more leisure time in the US, educational test results anyway are plummeting, and fewer people are graduating from high school, and fewer are satisfied with their thoughts and goals of the future. So we're losing something and need to create avenues for curiosity to develop in a better way. I hope.
Too many distractions. I think young people have too many distractions.
But in the US, from when I was a child, from when my daughter was a teenager, and so that's 15 years ago for her, to now, more than 15, but to now, the percentage of 14, 15, 16-year-olds working is dropped. Very few kids in high school today expect to be working until they have to, until they get past college or until their allowance dries up. It was a given that you looked for work when I was young, and for most people when Amber was a teen. It's not now. And when teens go looking for work, it's hard for them to find work because the culture has it that they're all losers and abusers and not to be trusted. So it's really different, and I don't know where that's going. Get college degree and a lot of debt and nothing to
But
benefit.
it sounds like internal talking for me. So when my grandfather was young, he started to work in 3 years by what I don't know how to name this word, this job. It's like a cowboy. He had to drive horse to the river that horses were drinking. So what is the job? How
Lead the horses to the water.
Yeah, during the night, because they are busy during the day, So it was his job, so and how actual is this job for now?
Chore. That would be a chore, and that's what you pay him to do or her to do. I don't have to do that. That's what I'm told. Many kids are saying now is that's his job, her job, not mine.
Yes, but what I mean that in his eyes, I was always like a truant, always. I never did nothing. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, and I consider you so much from the way you talk and share, so much more involved in life than many. Interesting. Okay, so yeah, generational common perception of change. Yeah. Yeah.
The same. For instance,
generation. Oh, go ahead.
The same for instance for my boys. For instance, my older boys, he don't want to. He don't have to. For instance, wash dishes or I don't know, to wash floors. But I did that in his age. It was normal for me. But now he don't have to because doesn't have to. And but I cannot say that he's a true one because of that, because he's doing his math, he's doing his English classes, and so it's just different.
Okay, interesting. Different it is. I will not argue that one. There is a lot different.
Yeah, but I can play this role. I can play like, in your time I was already in charge for do shopping, to buy bread and something. Yeah, but it's true, but it doesn't suit the situation. Yeah.
This is what I heard all the time.
That's true.
Or 10 or 8 or 6, whatever it was. But this is what my parents' generation would say to my generation. You don't know how easy you have it. We had to walk through the snow and no paved roads and no sidewalks. To walk everywhere. Interesting. Well, I thank you guys for hanging through with me, even though I came late. And I'm sorry that our new member didn't join us. I don't know.
Where is the queen? God
Yeah,
save the queen.
I want to know what other name she went by, because I don't know. Don't know. So hopefully some activity, and I hope that things are going to settle down with my life, so I can be a little bit more alert and with it. So appreciate your putting up with me and sharing. Interesting. Guys always leave me with lots to think about. So be on the eye for new innovations to share, and hope to talk to you again soon.
Bye bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.